Cell 411 is a great free app for Android and iPhone. It allows you to set up public and private cells for dealing with crime, emergencies, setting up neighborhood watch, activism, and even protecting your kids from bullies on the street or at school. Cell 411 gives your cells turn-by-turn directions to your location with one touch on your phone. There is also a Bluetooth panic button available that can be worn on your wrist, belt, or around your neck. Cell 411 has real-time chat for each alert so you can discuss the incident with family or friends in real-time video streaming. The video is stored on Cell 411's servers so your evidence cannot be deleted if your phone is taken or destroyed. Cell 411 has decentralized ride-sharing that allows for payment in any form: crypto, barter, silver, cash, etc. Cell 411 does not take a cut of your fare. Get Cell 411 free on Google Play and the iTunes Store, or go to getcell411.com. That's getcell411.com.
Dead blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. Feet flat in the streets, it's up to my knees. Feet flat in the street, the town of Chicago. Feet flat on the rise, it's following me.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Abolitionist Abstractions. As always, we're covered by a BIPCOT no government license. This allows reuse by anyone except governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information about this at bipcot.org. So I am back, and I have a guest this week. With me, I have Matt Bergman, who is the, well, among other things, the founder of Punk Rock Libertarians. And if you don't know those guys, besides having a pretty big Facebook page and stuff, but you guys also do a podcast over there, a bunch of different things. What's your website? Is it Daily Liberator? Is that yours? Is that the one everything runs through?
Yeah, the dailyliberator.com.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's the website that everything runs through. And I got put in touch with Matt through John Vibes, past guest, and one of my co-hosts on the Freedom Fiends, and it was actually I love John dearly. He's so funny. I sent him a message yesterday about somebody else that I had been talking to that I knew John knew, and he read it wrong because I think he was just as high as I was when I wrote it, and he was like, "Oh, I'll put you in touch with him," and he sets me up with Matt, and I'm like, "Well, I kind of know Matt because Matt and I spoke briefly at one point." A year or so ago, because Matt was invited on the Freedom Fiends. I believe he was actually the last guest we ever had because he managed to get kicked off the air in under 2 minutes. Michael threw you off because you let a curse slip, and
Just 2 minutes.
I don't even remember. I know it wasn't a very long amount of time.
It's like I think I was on there until the first commercial break.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay, yeah.
And then Michael Fee just went berserk and started throwing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the one time we spoke. But when John put me in touch with you, I was like, all right, this is perfect because I know at the very least we can talk about that. But I know there's a lot of other interesting things you're involved in, which I definitely wanted to touch on. But anyway, before I go any further, thanks for coming on, Matt. How you doing, man?
Having me on, man. I'm doing good tonight. I'm a little intoxicated.
That's okay. I'm almost always intoxicated when I do my shows. But anyway,
and that was the problem on Freedom Fiends, man. I was too intoxicated, and I just spoke freely when I agreed not to swear by going on the show. So I did an unlibertarian thing. I did a breach of contract.
Yeah,
I said that I would not to.
Yeah, I know, and Michael definitely.
I feel bad about that. And I do. And I've told myself since then that no more radio shows.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I mean, I've been doing podcasting for a couple of years now too, and it took me a while to. I mean, I've never managed to let one slip on the air. I still don't know how because I curse as was told.
That was my second time.
Oh yeah. Well, see, there you go. It's tough, man, especially if you're used to doing podcasts and stuff, or just talking in general and the way you speak. It's kind of hard to all of a sudden flip that switch and go, okay, I can't say these words.
Yeah, I mean, I just get in this mode of like truth serum or whatever, and I just say like, it's just like unedited,
Yeah. And there's, nothing wrong with that, except when you're on radio and you have to deal with the FCC.
Yeah, no doubt. Fuck the FCC.
Yeah.
But that's why I've decided that I like podcasts better because, I think more people listen to podcasts nowadays than radio anyways. Like radio is like just totally fucking dying, right?
Oh yeah.
So, I could do my own podcast. And with Punk Rock Libertarians, we don't keep it to any sort of like time restraint. It could be 40 minutes. It could sometimes be as long as 3 hours for as long as it's going to go for, as long as it's fun, basically,
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I've caught a couple of your shows here.
You can say whatever you want.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a bonus. I have caught a couple of your shows because I know you've had, I know John's been on at least recently. I've heard a couple ones with him on it, right? And
I've been on there a ton.
Yeah,
he was on there a lot, and then he got he got really sick, and it's awesome that he beat cancer.
Yeah,
it's
definitely
scary because John Vibes, he's one of my dearest friends. I think he's like probably the coolest like living philosopher. He's like a person like if I have some sort of like moral dilemma when I'm thinking about philosophy, like I'll just hit him up because I like to hear his opinion.
Well, yeah.
I usually agree with it.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's great for anybody to have somebody like that, but I could totally see that with John. I mean, I've just got to get the chance to get to know him over the past, I don't even know now, 6 to 8 months that he's been on the Fiends, and we've started talking a lot more. But I've always been a fan of his. With his writing and all that other stuff for years now, and I was trying to get him on my other show for the longest time, and we could never work it out on the Seeds of Liberty. And then once I finally became friends with him, I'm like, all right, now we're friends. Come on, you got to come do my shows. And now he doesn't want to do my other show because he doesn't like my co-host. But whatever, it's all right. I still love him.
Okay, okay. Okay.
But that's why I do this show, and that's why I like to have conversations. And as much fun as it is having people on, having like some of my friends on and stuff like that, like I've done a lot of those episodes, or people that I've gotten to know through just being in this type of situation for the past few years, doing interviews, that I became friendly with certain people. But I actually like talking to people. Like the very first time I invited somebody on the show, because the first 17 of them I think was just me, because the original intent of this show was supposed to be me just bitching about local government stuff, because I was a dog walker. I was a pet sitter for years, and I used to walk dogs, and I used to see city government crap all over the place. And it was like, oh, I got plenty of stuff to complain about. And that got boring after a while. So I decided to start having conversation. The very first person I had on, I didn't know at all. I had never even spoken to. He just sent me a message and he said, hey, I heard your last podcast. You said you want a guest. You want to talk to me? And I said, great. But those conversations I think can be a lot of fun too. Like you were saying with Punk Rock Libertarians, how you guys don't have like a time frame. That's how we used to run the Seeds of Liberty. We only started cutting it down because we found that a lot of people, unfortunately, like attention spans are horrible. So like our hardcore fans would listen. We have a couple of episodes that are close to 3 hours, usually all of them with Lou Fiend, because he makes us talk forever. But yeah, so I mean, how did you I did want to ask before I get any further, I keep mentioning it, because you've obviously been around for a while, and you've got more podcasts than the Seeds of Liberty, so you've obviously been doing that for a while too. Like how'd you get started in all this?
Like I started Punk Rock Libertarians first as like a Facebook group, and that was in like 2009. I think it was around November. And then Facebook changed, and they made it to where like groups didn't do as well, but pages were starting to really take off. So then I made the page in like I think it was like July of 2010. It just grew exponentially from there. It was like, I can remember when there was like 700 people on the page, and I was like, yes, this is so cool, and then there was like 1,700, and then there's like, 50,000,
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool because I was thinking about it when we were talking before about like when you brought up the FCC.
Uh-huh.
It's like right now, because of like the internet and, technology, it's basically, you can do like the movie Pump Up the Volume.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
The pirate radio station in your basement.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do it on the internet, and nobody's going to arrest you.
Well, yet at least.
Well, I'm saying like technology, you couldn't do that. You know, it was like if you did that in like 1990, it was pump up the volume. You know, you had like the FCC like come to your house trying to track you down or whatever.
Yeah.
Like technology's been really liberating.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't have been able to do any of the things I do without this stuff. And
like, you know, internet porn alone.
well, yeah, of course. You know, and you know, which is a great thing, of course, unless you currently live in where is it, Rhode Island? I just saw the reason they're trying to impose a tax up there on porn, that everybody has to. You actually have to pay for. Or is that well? It's a tax, but you got to pay for a whatchamacallit. You basically have to pay for a permission slip to say that you're agreeing to it because they're banning it for everybody. And if you want it,
how would they do that? How would they know what you're searching on your computer?
Well, this, first of all, it's government, so they think they can do everything. You know, politicians always claim they just make these bills and say, "Oh, we could do this," without even actually thinking it through. I mean, how many bills did they first try to pass when the internet first started coming out, and they had no idea what they were talking about? They were so ill prepared. You know, I think the claim is they already have a statute on the books up there about what's considered offensive. And or overly offensive, and this bill supposedly, if they pass it, will basically block ISPs from putting any. They have to put blocks so none of it can come through, unless people come forward, write a letter, and say, "No, I want this to be unblocked," and pay a one-time $20 fee. Like, how many people are going to do that? And conversely, how many people are going to all of a sudden become very interested in things like VPNs? And, you know, speaking of technology.
Totally. So, and that's one of the things that I guess it's back to, it's kind of reiterating what I was saying. It's like, you know, it's like the private sector's technology seems to move at a greater rate than government as far as like preserving, you know, our freedoms in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of always been the case. I always say government's a lagging indicator in pretty much everything except death and destruction. They're really good at that, and they stay way ahead of the curve on that. But everything else, they're a lagging indicator, and they're always following behind.
Okay, so like I diverted the topic by accident.
That's
so I was talking about Punk Rock Libertarians in 2013 or 2014. We first made the website.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been doing that ever since then. And then I think it was in early like 2015 or 2016, we decided to change the name to the Daily Liberator, because we were thinking about, with Punk Rock Libertarians, people that hate punk rock that aren't going to want to click on it, and you've got people that hate libertarianism that aren't going to want to click on it. But the Daily Liberator sounds kind of like fucking awesome, and you know, what kind of like piece of shit's gonna, you know, not like liberation, you know?
Well,
So
I'd be surprised.
it just
I get what you mean.
inclusive title, you know, to get people to see the message, you know.
Sure.
That's what it's all been. That's what it's all been about since day one, is just like, you know, spreading that message.
Well, I mean, I can understand that. That's why me and my buddies originally started the Seeds of Liberty, you know, way back. Oh, was it? I guess 2015 at this point. And you know, it was the same thing. And it's funny because that we came. Well, my friend Dave came up with a name, kind of just in a brainstorming session. But it was the same idea. It was like, how do we rope people in without, like, because at that point, all three of us were very devout ANCAPs. And
hey, dude, would you say that libertarians are like fucking like internet Mormons?
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Or like Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, where like knocking at your fucking cyber doors and shit.
Oh yeah. That's actually funny. I actually have one of the few pages I actually started on my own. I have a church that I created. It was the Church of the Immaculate Succession, but a friend and a fan of a bunch of my shows, who's a great meme maker, actually made a meme of Dave, my buddy Dave, and I, you know, evangelizing at people's doors. It's just our heads on a couple of Mormons at the door, and it's, you know, it's like, have you heard the word about voluntarism? Because, you know, that was us at the beginning. We were very preachy, but we were trying to figure out a way to come up with a name that would be inviting to more people, and it worked because we got a whole lot of conservatives originally. We pissed a lot of them off very quickly. But every time we get a numbers surge, it always involves a lot of conservative types who think they're all about liberty, you know. But yeah, marketing, man, I get it. It works.
It's like I think by and large, most people are pretty inherently libertarian, and or at least in America, in that like if you go by like the broad like say Gary Johnson definition of libertarianism of being fiscally conservative and socially liberal, I think most people fall into that category. I think most people fall into the category of violence is wrong, hence respecting the nap.
Mm-hmm.
So it's with the name like the Daily Liberator, it doesn't really cater to conservatives or progressives, but at the same time I feel like it's something any decent person should respect. Liberation,
Yeah,
like breaking chains,
sure. And I would agree with you that I mean I've always thought that not that everybody's inherently good, but yeah, everybody is inherently wants these things. It's just a matter of explaining it to them in a certain way. Do you make them understand that the way they want things done now is completely antithetical to that idea? And it's just a matter of doing that. But yeah, you gotta open the door some way. So like I said, I can appreciate that because we tried to do that to a certain to a certain extent too. So yeah, and obviously you guys have been around for quite a while and you've grown quite a following, so it seems to be working. And
well, I wasn't done, dude, because then we started the podcast, and it was exactly 251 weeks ago.
Wow.
On a week. So 251 weeks ago, like a couple, like where we did like 2 in a week, and then we might have missed a couple weeks. But so, I mean, we've pretty much hit every week for 251 weeks.
Wow. That's pretty
that's been a feat in and of itself. So we started in my old house, and we were down the basement there, and we were just doing audio. And then now we're in my new place, and we built like a set down here. We got lighting and a camera. So, we're making it, not look too shitty, but at the same time, it does look shitty, cool, like punk shitty,
Well, yeah, you got to play to your base, right? Now, because of this, like because of doing that, have you? I mean, I've been to your page a bunch, and I know Michael W. Dean, despite throwing you off the show, does still pimp the name of the Facebook page quite often, because he often talks about the fact that he still has. I guess you still allowed him to have privileges there.
Dude, I don't know, man. Is like with Michael W. Dean, you're worried that he's going to one day block you?
Well. I'm one of the few people that I think I'm safe at this point, because I've already been fired. I was fired off the Fiends long before that the ill-fated episode that you were on. I had been fired and then rehired because Michael did quickly realize number one, like we talked it out and we both apologized for some things, but he realized that I really was putting forth a lot of effort, more so than any of the other Fiends at that point. And without me there, things were there was a lot of pressure put back on him, and he's like, I got to bring the guy back. So I mean, I do figure at some point in time we'll get into another fight. So yeah, there's always the possibility that Michael will block you.
I mean, yeah, it's like I just like say things in conversation, and sometimes he gets triggered.
Yeah.
At the same time, like I want to be his friend. I don't want to be blocked. It's like, dude, I'm not like trying to offend you.
Oh no, I've had to try to explain other people's sides of the story to him on multiple occasions. Like friends of mine have been through the same thing with him, where it's like, I don't understand. I wasn't even being like a dick or anything. I was just asking him a question. But if he's in a mood,
no, dude,
he's an acquired taste. I explained Michael as like an acquired taste. I mean, I love the guy. I have a great amount.
I love the guy too, and I've followed him on social media for years now, and. He kind of did Punk Rock Libertarians before I did Punk Rock Libertarians. I think he had a website. It was called like Libertarian Punk, I believe. Oh, and this was, I think I found this before I was even on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
I got to give him props for that, because I think he was kind of the guy that Columbus did on the internet as far as I've seen.
Well, yeah, I don't even remember at this point which one. That sounds about right. I know he did something. I can't remember the name, but that sounds right.
I stumbled across that before I was on Facebook, like because like with Punk Rock Libertarians, for me it was like I was googling it for years, and I couldn't find anything, and then I was waiting for somebody to make that page, and eventually I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to make this page.
Well, yeah.
He like does the punk rock and libertarianism. It just goes together like chocolate and peanut butter. It just like really makes sense.
Yeah. See, that's
apparently like 190,000 people agree with me. So that's cool.
Well, or at least, in Facebook terms, that's, something like maybe 100,000 and 90,000 of their socks, somewhere around there. I don't know, something like that. But no, that's, I never thought of it before. I listened to some punk music over the years, but I never really got into it. It wasn't actually until I found Michael. I found the Fiends originally, and I started listening to him, and I started and he's, was always talking about it and like his days in the scenes and everything. And I guess I gained a bigger appreciation for it, especially because he constantly had me watching like different documentaries, and like anything would come up about a particular band. He's like, "Watch this," or YouTube videos. He was constantly sending me stuff, and
tracked down one of his band's records on eBay.
Oh yeah. See, I never had to go through that because actually most of his stuff is torrented at this point, and I have every torrent the Fiends do. So
I just wanted to own it on vinyl. Because I like the dude, you know what I mean?
Oh no, I get that.
I'm just saying he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy. He can get triggered rather easily, but I still like him.
Yeah, that's why I stick around.
Yeah, he's awesome, dude.
Yeah, but yeah, you mentioned that you were. I said you failed to market demand because you didn't find anything, but you said you had been searching for, the combination of punk rock and libertarian on a Facebook thing or a website or something somewhere for a while. And obviously, you had a particular reason for that. I mean, I'm guessing besides a love of punk, I mean, you do currently play in a band, right? And you've played another one before. I'm guessing you guys do punk stuff. I don't know. I haven't listened to you yet, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, right now I play in a band called 10 Watch. We were actually, we formed in like 2001, and then we broke up or kind of like went on hiatus in 2008. Just got back together in 2017. And right now we're working on a new album. So
nice.
In the near future. It's been a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. So I'm guessing that was part of your drive to look for and then subsequently create all this when it wasn't there, right? So you've been a punk rocker.
My old band's called Post Freedom.
Okay.
You can find a bunch of our shit online at YouTube. You can find us at Bandcamp. You can download all of our music for free. And that Post Freedom was kind of like straight up libertarian punk rock. That was just all it was. It was all of a message. Whereas Watch is like is more like personal stuff. Some of it's political. It's more light on the politics, but Post Freedom was just kind of like, just like all about the philosophy.
Nice. Yeah, see, that's interesting because I never heard of heard of that band before, and I tried to scour for a while. I guess I didn't scour hard enough, but I was always asking people when I was actually still into music. Unfortunately these days I listen to so many podcasts, I forget to listen to music most of the time. But I remember there was a period that I was constantly looking on because is there anybody in like the liberty movement or whatever, or whatever you want to call it, that's actually doing this stuff? And I always came up empty. But I'm gonna have to go look that up because.
And you can check out Smash Estate, Post Freedom, or the War Machine. We actually did like a music video.
Oh, nice.
So that's all on YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff on YouTube.
Cool. Well, so since you've been doing the music thing for I guess close to 2 decades now at this point. I guess if you started, or at least you said the 10 Watch started in 2001. I don't know if you're doing stuff before that, but so
bands in like 1994.
Oh wow! So all right, so you've been in the music for that long, but if when did you? I mean, have you always had the libertarian thing going too, or did that come later on after the music started?
Song was about like exercising your Second Amendment rights and fighting the government.
Oh
So
wow!
that was the first song that I wrote. It was actually called "Fight." Yeah, and it was just like, you know, it's like, and that was I think I was like, I might have been 13 or 14 when I wrote that, maybe 15 at the oldest, but I think it was like 13 or 14 when I wrote that first song.
Wow, that's
like, heavily influenced by like Minor Threat. Are you familiar with them at all?
I never really listened. I know who they are. I never really listened to them, but I do know them. Yeah. So okay.
Fugazi?
What's that?
Ever gotten to Fugazi?
That's another one. I know about it because of Michael, but no, you know, I went through with when it came to music. Like I said, I listened to some punk stuff, like very little here and there. I can't even remember what albums I own. I went through weird phases where I was listening to metal at a very young age. You know, I think I bought 2 Metallica CDs off my friend who stole them from his brother for like $1 a piece. And went on my merry way when all my friends were listening to you know, either the crappy pop music of the day or or what was becoming rap music at that time. And then I jumped straight over to listening to like hippy dippy shit like Dave Matthews and Jimmy Buffett because I was high all the time and that was my happy music. So I kind of skipped the punk thing, but I know the bands.
Dude, I was high all the time listening to a lot of punk rock.
Oh yeah, to each their own.
No doubt. But and I also do this thing called Ladies of the Evening, where like it's just me and who's ever hanging out over here, record songs and just like, you know, throw them on the internet.
Nice. Yeah. See,
and you can find that stuff on YouTube too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, music's. I mean, I've been a fan of, like I said, I've been a fan of different types of music over the years. But I always dug music, but I never got into playing it, and I always just like looked at people who could and not play and then even write on top of that. But anybody who could, especially like people like that I knew, like in awe, and then of course deep down like a huge tinge of jealousy too. It's like, motherfucker, like I want to be able to do that. I just never put in the time or effort. And apparently, you know, I can't even carry a tune, so I'm not very musically inclined at all. I think I tried to play guitar for like 6 months when I was maybe 12.
Well, I mean, like I would say that I was blessed with like not a huge amount of musical talent, but like I think I just like practiced like a whole bunch and I got it passable. You know, it's passable for punk rock.
Oh, well, there you go.
I mean,
you just gotta know your genre.
I really enjoy making music. That's like when I feel the best. It's like you know, creating art and like recording it and just getting it out there.
Yeah, I can get that. That's a great feeling. I don't do anything on that level, but I mean, I usually feel the same way just when I'm usually behind the microphone, because it is the one thing the one thing I've always been told about myself is like, you got a voice, you should use it. I was like, all right, I'll figure out something eventually.
I mean, it's like the same thing for me with music. Like Post Freedom, you know, my last band, we actually disbanded in around like 2014, and by that time I was already doing Punk Rock Libertarians for
a few years,
like 4 years. And then after Post Freedom, after we stopped doing things, I started just going like hardcore, like just working on the website, blah blah blah. So, and 10 Watch managed to get back together, which that's something we talked about doing eventually, but and then it finally happened.
Cool. I can, yeah. Well, like I said, you're, you know, it's what you love to do. So I can imagine that, you know, the opportunity comes back up. It's like, yeah, we'll do this. I would, yeah.
At the same time,
oh yeah.
At the same time, it's kind of weird because like for years, it was like I had tunnel vision about music.
Mm-hmm.
I did this like internet libertarianism thing, and then I kind of got tunnel vision for that. And now I find it's very hard to like. It's very hard to like do them both because I'm so busy. Because I also have like I half-old little girl.
Mm. Yeah, that,
So, yeah.
that takes time. I have 6-year-old twins, so I know what that's like. I've often said that. Unfortunately, I would love to do so much more, but unfortunately, my life has a nasty way of getting in the way of my activism constantly.
No, yeah. I mean, like, I got like 5 hours of sleep last night, and I don't know.
I've been there. I can actually say I got a little bit more last night, but I've been in this weird mode lately ever since we stopped doing live shows for the Fiends, where I used to be up, I'm used to having to be up at 1 o'clock till usually 4 o'clock in the morning, because when I did the shows, I would edit them too. So I wouldn't be able to go to bed till at least 4. And for some reason, ever since we quit, now my body's just like, if I try to put myself to bed at like midnight, 1 a.m., by like 6:30 at the latest, my body's just like, nope, it's time to get up, dude. Do something. You've slept long enough. You're used to getting off going to sleep at 4 and waking up at like 9:30, 10 o'clock to go to work and stuff like that. So get up. You only need 5 or 6 hours. So I don't even get sleep when I can. My kids weren't even here last night. I still couldn't sleep. Getting old sucks, man. I don't recommend it for anybody. But yeah. What was it? I was going to ask something else now too, and it just slipped my mind. Well, yeah. So you had said that you're finding it hard to find the time to do both, and I can understand that. But at this point, I can imagine that you at least have somewhat of a team that helps you out with the website and the Facebook page and stuff like that. I can't imagine you were doing all of it yourself at this point, at this juncture.
Like initially when I started the page for quite some time, I was doing it all by myself as far as like the web page. And then I brought Brian Combs on as an admin. He was helping with post, and I was on because I think he's a good dude, and I agree with him a lot of the time. So interesting person to have post on the page. And then my buddy Jared Schneiderman, he got involved, and then me start the he built the website himself. So we've been at it, I think, since like 2013 or something, maybe 2012, but something 2014, so somewhere in that area together when you're always stoned. So and then John Vibes, we were friends on the internet for a really long time, but we met in person at PorkFest in 2013. I know that for certain.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we just like really hit it off like right away, and it was a lot of fun, just like chilling by the campfire, smoking weed with John Vibes, talking about some philosophy.
Yeah, I hope to do that one day soon. One of these days, I'm finally going to get to hang out with him.
Talking with him, I think it was earlier today. Actually, I was like, "Oh man, one of these days we got to get back to back up to PorkFest, and smoke a bowl with Tim Davis."
Yeah, I did my one and done thing at PorkFest in 2016. I don't think I'm pretty sure I won't ever go back, especially because the Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest scheduled itself for the same exact time, and I have a lot more fun at that one. I was actually trying to convince John to come up there this year.
John was actually talking about maybe going to Jackalope.
Yeah, but that's a couple months later, so I'm not worried about that.
He was talking about going to some other Liberty Festival actually earlier today.
Interesting.
This year or next year, but if he goes, I'll probably I'm going to try to go with him if all things are permitting. I'm kind of busy with like a month and a half old little girl. So,
well, I understand how that
tough.
goes.
And then I've also been trying to invest wisely in crypto while things are on sale. So,
yes, apparently I've tried really. Oh yeah, speaking of crypto, I've tried really, really, really hard not to look at the prices lately, because I keep seeing everybody else talk when they will talk about it, because a lot of people aren't talking about it right now. But when they do, they're all like depressed. Either people are that have money to buy more are excited because it is on sale. But everybody else who doesn't is kind of upset, because I think a lot of people are down at the current moment. I think I'm one of the few people who's actually still up, allegedly. You know, of course, I don't have any crypto whatsoever. I lost it all in that horrible voting accident, you know, along with my guns. You know, these things happen.
Crypto?
Huh? What was it? Yeah, everything. My wallets. That was all with my guns. They all did, you know. I live in New York, so it was a horrible voting accident. They took everything, you know. So I allegedly still have some. But yeah, I try not to look, man, because I can't afford to purchase anymore. It would probably make me even more. It would probably make me even more mad if I was looking at the prices, because knowing that I can't buy anymore right now. Like how long have you been in the crypto game?
In October, like late October.
Oh, so you're really fresh into this then. Although actually I'm not too much farther behind you. I've had it for a while. I just didn't really start playing around with it until early last year, maybe. Yeah, I guess I finally started diversifying.
You know, like I remember being at PorkFest in 2013 and seeing people use Bitcoin. And I remember thinking, well, Bitcoin's a really good idea. I've got to buy some of that. So I ended up having to deal with the Obamacare stuff, and it kind of like raised my health insurance from like $150 to like $450 a month.
Well, that can't be possible. That the Obamacare was supposed to save money, wasn't it? Wasn't that the whole purpose?
Yeah, right. So yeah, affordable, right? You know, it's really like like I was hot on the crypto. I was hot on the crypto tip early on, and I thought it was a good idea. But literally, like Obamacare was like fucking me. So, during Obamacare, it's basically like really that money was going to health insurance, so I didn't have any money to save because that was my saving money.
Sure,
it just really fucked me financially, dude. It was just a huge fucking cost, and I saw no benefit from it.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think, yeah. Actually, I don't even care anymore. Yeah, I avoided it because that was when Obamacare finally hit, and it was like, okay, you're get, the individual mandate was put in place, and it was like, okay, yeah, you don't have to get it, but if you don't, then you got to pay this fine or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm done. This is the last year I get extorted, and I went underground after that. I was like. I'm like, I'm not even dealing with this crap. But I would have had to deal with the same thing here in New York, because that was the one thing. They were all pushing it. We all know now. But for the longest time, they kept trying to push it was affordable. Yeah, it was like, yeah, in certain states it was. But it actually, like around here, it would have actually been worse for me. And I know plenty of people that happened to, where they actually ended up having to pay a lot more. So, yeah, I mean, I don't even think I think I'd heard about crypto back then, but I didn't really care. I was dealing with so many other things in my life at that point that I was like, yeah, I'll get whatever. Sounds nice.
No. I mean, it's the thing that pains me is I always thought it was a good idea. The point where my then girlfriend, my now wife, she would always get annoyed that I wouldn't stop talking about Bitcoin, because I was so interested in it, and I did want to get some. But then it's like my health insurance kept getting jacked up. It was just cutting into my savings that I would spend on Bitcoin. So, and then when I had something like my car get broke, or I have to buy a new car, I would have to go into my savings, which I wasn't able to put back into because I was paying so much for health insurance. So, otherwise, I could have invested in crypto sooner. So it's like, I kind of feel like Obamacare really totally fucked me.
It sounds that way, man. I'm sorry. That's rough. Like I said,
I really fucking hate the state.
Well, I do as well, but for many, many other reasons. I mean, I'm sure you have your reasons too.
Okay.
My listeners know I've been dealing with a lot of crap with the state lately, so.
For me, hating the state, number one, I would say war.
Okay. It's a good one.
There's people dying. It's a no-brainer, Number two, hate the state, drug war.
Yeah.
People in rape cages. So, I mean, those would be number one and two, but, taxation in and of itself is just fucked.
Well, yeah, I of course, I you don't have to tell me that. Like I said, well, I fancy myself somewhat of an agorist, or at least I attempt to be. And I made that decision in conjunction with it really was like, that was like one of my last involvements with like anything political whatsoever, when I just totally gave up caring about anything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really going to try to go as far underground as possible. Like, I had a legitimate business for almost a decade at that point, and I was just like, yeah, I'm taking this underground. And I stopped accepting credit cards and checks and all that stuff, and tried to encourage people, even though I didn't have any at that point. I actually I think I got a Bitcoin wallet just to have, and I tried to encourage my clients to start paying in it. Wow. Unfortunately, in the 3 or 4 years that I had that running before I finally closed the business down, I think I had one person pay me in Bitcoin, and it was a friend of mine who ended up coming in from out of town and needing to use my services and insisted on paying me. So it never worked out. I couldn't convince the people here on Long Island to get into the whole crypto thing. Like I said,
how much did you get paid in Bitcoin by that one dude, though?
At the time, I think it was worth like $45. So, if I hadn't lost it in that horrible voting accident, now it'd probably be worth a couple $100. Even well, now. Yeah,
but I'm saying like how many Bitcoin was it? Was it one Bitcoin? Was
no.
Bitcoin?
It was probably, yeah. Oh, wow. Actually, it might have been, it was somewhere between an eighth and a quarter of a Bitcoin. Yeah.
So, eighth and a quarter. Now we're talking like
$1,000. Yeah. Even now. Yeah. Bitcoin's currently, I was going to say Bitcoin. I think it's all.
Eighth right now is $1,000 to $2,000. You're saying. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Last I saw Bitcoin was like 8,200. So somewhere in that neighborhood. So that'd be like, yeah. Yeah.
It's like the thing that's always made sense about Bitcoin, I think, is the scarcity. The fact that there will only be no more than 21 million. And on top of that, I think like 4 million have been lost.
At least. Yeah. With all the wallets that people forgot to write their passwords down for, or forgot where they wrote them down. Or their private keys, rather.
I think BTC is going to be the digital gold for quite some time.
Yeah, I've said for a while that I that's always been my position. Although I stayed very far away from the whole, because like I said, I've been in it long enough to have been around when the fork actually happened and all the hype before it and all this other stuff. And I just I try to stay out of it, because my whole position the whole time was like, I'm just gonna hold both and see what happens. And but in the back of my mind, I was always like, it just doesn't make sense for this to be supplanted, even eventually. Like it really, like, it's still the biggest draw for all every noob who comes to crypto. The first thing they know is Bitcoin.
Like one cool thing about it though too is, I mean, you could have multiple cryptos to do things. Like there can be only fucking one, we're not playing Highlander here, It's like a free market of currency, really, like a lot of people are like, how would you do things, and it kind of explains how Ancapistan could work, really.
Yeah. Not that I really want to live in Ancapistan anymore, but I get what you're saying. Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. There are, and even now already, I mean, how many thousand cryptos are there right now? But there are multiple ones that actually have had staying power, that have different functions. And you're not going to find, just like with anything else, you're not going to find the answer for everything in one place. It's impossible. You can't satisfy everybody's needs that way. That's why, getting back to what you were saying about hating the state. Well, yeah, that's why it can never work. Because you can't please everybody that, like, in that ham-fisted one-size-fits-all fashion. So of course, besides having just competing cryptos in general, you're going to have competing ones in certain markets for that coins or tokens or whatever that have specific functions.
Has John talked to you about Nexus at all?
Yeah, he pimped it pretty hard on the fiends a couple of times, especially right after he learned about it and got his hands on some, I guess.
Cool, dude.
I see. My whole thing with crypto is like I said, I got my first Bitcoin a few years ago, so I was still lucky enough to get it when the price was still relatively low. But and I finally diversified and I got a bunch of others, a bunch of other stuff, which of course, like I said, I lost. But I never looked extremely hard into a lot of different coins, and I still don't, because I'm, talking about being busy with life and other things. I have so many other things that I'm involved in that I've really entrusted a lot of my crypto knowledge to a couple of friends and a couple of people that I follow who have yet to leave me wrong. So I only know like the basics about even some of the, the more popular coins that I have myself. So like what John told me about Nexus, what I heard about it, I'm like, yeah, it sounds pretty cool. But I'm at the point where if I can't, I can't get anything new currently because I don't have any money. And I really don't want to exchange anything I have at the current moment because the market's so far down. So I'm at one of those places where I can't really do much. I really have no choice but to hodl at the current moment.
I mean, like I'm right there with you. Like I recently bought the Nexus dip though.
Yeah.
Nexus was at like $1.80, and I purchased 105 of them.
Wow.
And then but I mean that's cool because I set a Nexus goal, painting 1,000 Nexus, and I just like hit that.
Well, there you go.
That's pretty cool. So if Nexus does what I want it to do, what I think it can do.
And well, for anybody who doesn't know, what's the sell on Nexus again? What's the other things they're trying to do besides just the coin that makes it so?
First off, I'm going to try to explain this, but I'm not like a crypto designer or whatever.
Neither am I.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'll try to explain this for everybody in layman's terms. And I would say, first off, the best explanation is if you go on fucking YouTube and you type in Colin Cantrell, or if you type in CryptoLark, Colin, this will come up with them talking, and Colin actually explains Nexus. Colin Cantrell is the creator of Nexus, and he seems pretty brilliant to me. It's so basically Bitcoin has two problems. It's basically the time of the transactions is taking longer, and the expense of the transactions has been a problem.
It has been better lately, I think.
It was better for a while. I would imagine it's probably pretty chaotic now with all these people selling off their Bitcoin, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, I
sure.
think I did see somebody post something earlier today. They're like, what happened to all of us? Because they really had because of the huge dip, and a lot of people were hodling for a while. Everything had the prices had dropped. I was hearing people sending like entire Bitcoins for pennies again, on using like SegWit wallets and doing stuff like that. So. But anyway, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that has been the problem, and it's historically going to be. It looks like it's going to continue to be a problem every time the.
So Nexus improves on these things. It seems like it's basically twice as tough as Bitcoin, as far as the design goes. As far as these technological improvements, Nexus is. They're tied in with vector space. And the founder of Vector Space was actually a founder of SpaceX.
Oh, you mean the new NASA?
Doing Vector Space, and founder is Jim Cantrell. He's Colin Cantrell's father, and Jim Cantrell is going to launch up these rockets, and then they're going to have satellites on them, and the satellites are like twice the size of a Rubik's cube. And their goal is to set up a internet because, as Colin Cantrell says, 60,000 kilometers up, it's universal air. It's what do you call it when it's unregulated waters, or what is it?
International waters, international air.
International waters, exactly. Yeah. So he says it like all funny, like it's international air, like it's international waters, And he talks about with like the internet, with like the censorship that's going on and stuff, and basically having it up and having it decentralized control. It'll be like a great tool for the empowerment of man. Asked if he would patent the Nexus technology. He said he said only to patent it as public domain, so nobody else could patent it first. Pretty cool, because I'm a big hater on IP.
I am as well. Well, I mean, you heard at the beginning, I used the BIPCOT license at the beginning of my show. I BIPCOT pretty much everything I do, because as well as
like one thing with crypto too. I think it's a great place for libertarians to put our money where our mouth is, because you've got these dudes saying all this cool shit, and they have like fucking Ron Paul speak at their crypto conference. I believe they have Derek Bros out there as well. So, like, it's a pretty hardcore coin with a pretty hardcore team, and they're all about our message. So I think it's a good time for libertarians to put their money where their mouth is, as far as crypto. And who knows how it'll do? Like all this shit, like well, not everybody, but some people claim to know how a certain coin's going to do. I don't think anybody knows. Say that they do are probably full of shit. But yeah, Nexus seems like a good idea though.
Yeah. I'll have to look. Like I said, I know John's big on it. I know a couple other people have talked to me about it. And once I have a little more money, hopefully, once I finally sell my house and get the hell out of here, allegedly, I had planned on putting aside part of that money to be able to reinvest a little bit into crypto again. So I'm sure I'll because I know at one point John was in so early. He said there was issues with the wallet and stuff. Although he lives out in the boondocks, so he has a hard time downloading anything.
Nexus is $2 a coin, dude.
Oh, well,
you can throw $20 at it.
Well, I know, like I said, if I literally have like nothing. I'm in a really bad spot. I've talked you don't know, I've talked about this before. I'm literally in the process of trying to sell my house and get the hell out of New York. And I closed my business back in October, and I've only been working extremely part-time compared to what I used to, because I retained a couple of clients after I closed, and they insisted on trying to keep me on as long as possible. So as long as I was stuck here because of the court case I'm dealing with, I've continued to work for them, but I just barely make enough to pay the bills I have to pay. So and I have the kids. But once I sell the house, like I said, my plan was to take a little bit and reinvest, and I think. Yeah, I have no problem. I'll try to grab some because that's my only hope at this point, is that if the market stays down for another month or two, because who knows how long the sale of my house is actually going to take. This is a nightmare. This is the first time I've actually had to ever sell a house, and I highly recommend to everybody, don't get involved in this shit.
What do you think about Monero?
I am a big fan of Monero. Again, I know the basics of the technology, but I took the word of a lot of my friends who I trust highly when it comes to crypto and have never led me wrong. And like the security features and stuff, like the privacy and everything, I'm a huge fan of. And I actually went out and bought equipment to build myself a mining rig specifically to mine Monero. Unfortunately, by the time I got it up and running, the difficulty jumped so much that I only got like a month or so of mining before it was no longer worth it for me to mine Monero. But that's what happens in the crypto world. But yeah, I'm a big fan of mining. I've talked about that a lot. I encourage other people to get into that too. So if you want to get into the crypto world, but yeah, I like Monero. the stuff I currently mine, the intent of doing that was originally to do that and then convert it to Monero once I have enough of it. So, I was going to try to start shifting as much of mine, because as far as I know, like I said, I know what I know about crypto through the people I listen to and stuff. But as far as I've been able to gather, Monero is probably the most secure coin at the moment, and the one that governments have the least amount of chance of getting their hands on, or figuring it out, or being able to tell the shit. So yeah, I I don't give financial advice, but I maybe whatever meager amount I may have left, I plan on shifting pretty much all that way at some point. Yeah, that's how much I like it. What about you?
Cool. Yeah, I don't have any Monero yet, but I think it's the next thing I want to get.
Yeah, it's a good. I mean, unfortunately, the wallets can be a pain in the ass, because I refuse to use the ones that people kept saying, oh, they're fine, and then ended up having a bunch of problems a few months ago, and I was just like, oh, I'm glad I didn't do that. So, like, even their GUI wallet, on for your PC is well, let's just say it's a little slow, very cumbersome. It has not been a priority for Fluffy Pony or any of the other people over there this entire time, and they've made that very clear that they are just going to leave it alone. So, like, I have to, I try to remember to open my Monero wallet like once a week so it can catch up on the blocks and everything, and it's a painstaking long process. Everything moves extremely slow in there, so it's not something that until like. I keep hearing rumblings that, or maybe it actually happened. I haven't paid attention enough lately, but I know it was supposed to, that they were finally going to integrate Monero into like the Ledger wallets and stuff, which would be exciting. Because that's one thing I was missing when I got my hardware wallets, is can't keep Monero there. So it's a little difficult for me to obtain. I can't like buy something with it at a store very easily right now, because I don't trust the mobile wallets. But the coin itself and the technology, I trust a lot. So yeah, that's probably my favorite coin. And then
yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a wise investment right now.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got a larger scarcity than Bitcoin.
Does it? I don't remember. What's the cap on Monero? Is it more scarce? I don't know.
It has nothing to do with the cap and everything to do with the circulating supply.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. There's definitely a lot less of that, but
there's like 15 and some million Monero, whereas with Bitcoin there is right now or something, but there's going to be
how much was that? You cut out for a second. What was that?
Now the circulating supply, according to Coin Market Cap, is 16.8 million. Okay.
And
you've got more of a scarcity on Monero.
Yeah, well, that'll change. I don't remember what the cap is. I thought it was higher, but anyway. But yeah, like I said, I like the technology and stuff, and it definitely seems to keep holding up as the most secure one. I mean, there actually is guides all over. Speaking of the internet, what we were talking about earlier, there's guides all over the place. I've had these are things I had to learn along the way. Because I kept hearing terms, and I'm like, what does that mean? And like washing your coins and being able to move, say if you have Bitcoin or another coin that isn't as private, because unfortunately Bitcoin originally was sold to everybody as not only, peer-to-peer transactions and all this stuff and wonderful digital currency, but also it was sold as this anonymous thing. And of course that proved out to be pretty quickly that's not really true, that Bitcoin transactions are pretty easily traced. So unfortunately, I think Ross Ulbricht knows a little bit about that, but they, you can, whatchamacallit, all these other coins started coming out, and like we said before, Bitcoin can still serve a purpose, and I do agree. I do agree with you, like you said before. I think it will, but other coins need other functions like security. And Monero seems to be the one that most people use for, washing their coins. Because, if you happen to send your exchange your Bitcoin for Monero or something like that, and then send the Monero back out the other side and exchange it for something else. And, now, whoops, where did all that stuff go? Oh, I got rid of it all. I sold it all, or I lost it. It's up in the ether. Nobody knows anymore. It's great. It's wonderful. I love it. Like I said, I don't give financial advice, but I highly recommend it. I really don't. I really do. Anyway, yeah. But other than that, I don't know. What other? Are you into anything else? Or are you just like one of these people, like one at a time? You're going, I'll get into this because I just started diversifying. I took I listened to the people I trusted for the most part, and got dabbled into some stuff here and there, and then I took a couple of flyers, usually from my crazy friend Dave, who has these wild ideas, and sometimes they pan out. So I'm just like, if I could throw like a little bit of money at something that's only a penny or two right now, sure, I'll take a flyer on it and see what happens. That type of thing.
Like for me, most of what I've got in not Ripple, sorry. Most of what I've got is in Nexus, and then I've got a fair amount of Bitcoin, some Ripple, some Stellar, some Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, that's what sounds about me. Except I never got into the Stellar thing. Another one I heard about, but I'm like, I don't have money. I can't. I do my little mining stuff, and unfortunately, since I was set up, like that's the only thing I can bring in right now, and that's and because I was set up to do Monero, I can only really do certain coins. So, hey,
what do you think about Dash?
I gave up on Dash.
Oh, Michael Feem will block you, dude.
Yeah, no, I know. He's not as horrible as Virgil Vaduva is about that. Virgil Vaduva, the creator of Cell 411. He gets even angrier when you bring up Dash in a serious manner. I don't know. I kind of bought into the whole Dash is trash because of the sketchy situation with the setup and the the alleged pre-mine, and I don't know. I got out of it. I had it for a while. That was one of the first things I diversified into, and I ended up listening to Virgil and Michael and a bunch of other people. I mean, I looked at the evidence they provided. Like a couple of them put together very thorough posts that not only explained point by point what their problem was, but also provided evidence to go along with it. So I looked at all that, and I'm like, yeah, I can see that. I
do you like Ben Swan?
I do kind of like Ben. I know he's hooked up with.
What do you mean, kinda?
I don't know the guy. I mean, I thought.
Oh no, but I mean, come on, he's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I thought for working within the mainstream system, news system, he definitely did more than anybody else that I can recall. In my recent memory,
Dash brought him back.
Yeah, but the one thing Dash has always been wonderful at is marketing. They're excellent at that.
Okay. So, you've got Stellar, or you've got Stellar and Ripple, which are basically bankers' coins. Okay, so
see, I don't buy that either, though.
You don't buy Stellar or Ripple?
No, I don't. I don't buy the banker coin thing. I think there's a lot of Again, that's one of those things that I looked into, and I'm like, yeah, it really seems that there is a lot of hyperbole and misunderstanding about what's going on. Like using the technology is not necessarily using the coin, and they're two separate things. And it's it's not going to be the it's not going to be the coin. And even if it is, I'm only along for the ride to make a little money off it. So I'm not against that. And Stellar, I just never bothered to get into, like I said, because I figured I already had Ripple. And
with Stellar and Ripple, I own both of them, but they're not my favorite ideas. I own a little bit of them because I think they could do well, and I want to diversify my portfolio. but it's like what I'm really behind is a decentralized project like Nexus. Bitcoin, or of course I've already stated, but Monero sounds like a pretty awesome idea as well.
Yeah,
like with Dash, they seem to have done some pretty cool stuff with like helping liberty activists out.
yeah.
I don't have any Dash right now, but I'm thinking after I get some Monero and some more Bitcoin, I might pick up a little bit of Dash.
Yeah, well, like I said, I had some for a while. I got in when it was pretty cheap, and I think I got out allegedly right before it hit $1,000. So I did well enough in it, and my whole thing, like I said, I diversify based on whatever knowledge I'm able to gain from other people and whatever little bit I read up on my own, and what I actually like about stuff. I mean, is going back to the whole thing about Ripple, I mean, I still think that it has a chance to be, regardless of whatever people want to call it, or Fed coin or whatever. Unfortunately, we do still have to deal with the state for the foreseeable future, and I still no matter how much technology leaps forward, which I do get excited about when it happens, and it does seem to happen in very quick, very short order in a lot of fields, which is great, and continues to do so. But no matter that still hasn't changed my outlook that I don't expect to see the freedom that I really want in my lifetime. I gave up that dream a couple of years ago, and I've actually been a lot happier since then because I had a lot of pressure on myself before then that I had put there that I wanted to see this and I had to make it happen. But I still see the state, unfortunately being around for quite a while. So things are going to be necessary to work within that system. And I still think that Ripple has the ability to, the ridiculously lightning fast transactions already, without having to go the steps that Bitcoin claims that they're getting with the, Lightning Network and all this other stuff, which is still not going to be as fast as Ripple is right now. And the, basically absolutely nothing for, charges. I mean, the, fees, but like basically nothing. That is a convenience that a lot of people are going to want, and that.
So Ripple's your favorite coin?
I know, like I said, Monero is still my favorite coin, but I could totally see Ripple being the one that ends up convincing a lot of people to get into crypto, regardless of the ties to different government projects or what have you, or whatever, whatever's going on, or whatever banks are using it. Which is fine with me because that'll just create more of an adoption. And then if, just like other people got into it by hearing about Bitcoin or having their first coin be a little bit of Bitcoin or whatever, somebody gave them a little bit of Bitcoin and then they branched out in other stuff. Well, get into Ripple and then get into other stuff. Figure out stuff that's more secure, like Monero.
If you could buy one coin right now, what would it be?
See, that's tough. Like I said, I think for me, it really depends on, I guess, how much you have to put in. I don't know. I mean, I don't tell, like, I definitely would not say people would be going wrong by throwing some money in Monero. Currently right now, if it depends on what you're trying to do, really. I mean, if you're looking for just to get in and hold for a while, then, like I said, I wouldn't tell people not to buy Monero. I also wouldn't tell people not to put a decent amount of money in Ripple right now because it's still pretty low. Last I saw, it was still hovering around like 70 cents. It may have gone up a little bit since then, but but that's a long-term hold because the really good projections on Ripple are $10 by the end of the year, somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you could still pick up a heck of a lot for under $1, I wouldn't say that would be a bad idea necessarily.
$10 by the end of the year. Wow.
But again, it's what you want to put in. I mean, Monero, last I saw, was hovering between 215 and 230 again. But it also, when the dip happened, it was actually a little more resilient than Bitcoin up until the past couple of days, I think, because it had still stayed up over 300 for a while.
In my situation, I've already got a fair amount of Ripple, and I don't have any Monero, so I think I want to do that next.
Yeah, no, like I said, I
You
definitely
got me thinking about Ripple.
well, like I said, if you have I don't give financial advice. Like, can't say that enough. But if you do have money and you're looking to throw in and you're willing to hold long, then yeah, I don't see why not. Because that's one of the ones I do know enough about that I'm convinced that you're in no danger by using it. Like, people freak out when they think FedCoin and they're just like, oh, you're continuing all this other stuff. It's like, no, this stuff's going to continue whether we want to or not.
Oh, yeah, right.
If they want to use the technology to be able to pass their transactions quicker between them, great, let them. It'll help the price of the damn coin rise. And if people could use it for everyday transactions, and it becomes the one that more, quote, if more normies find out about that, like after maybe hearing about Bitcoin but never really getting into it, and then just buying all the hype that gets played up on the media whenever the next crash is here, no, it's another dip, whatever, it's fine. It's still up. Like, how much was it at this time last year? $2,000 maybe, I think, because around the beginning of the year last year it was only at 1,000, right, Bitcoin. So, but a lot of people just still buy that hype. So, but if more people now all of a sudden start finding about Ripple because these banks are using these different institutions that they use every day and they're still connected with, if that's the one that becomes super well known, it may take over that section of the market. And like I said, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Well, I saw Amanda Billy Rock posted a new video to YouTube last night, where she was talking about the crypto slump of 2013. That this crypto slump could last a whole year.
Yeah, that is possible. I thought it actually happened in 2016 too, but maybe I'm forgetting that wrong. Where it was kind of the price dropped and then it stayed steady. Yeah, it is possible.
I'm thinking, if that's the case, if it lasts for a whole year, but then it explodes after that, this could be a great year to invest because everything's on fucking sale.
Well, yeah. I mean, and as always, you never, don't put anything in, but don't put anything you're not willing to lose. But yeah, I still
totally.
think I still believe enough in the idea of blockchains and all the other stuff that has now been spawned from it. Like we were saying earlier about how technology is always ahead of the government. The private sector is always ahead of government. And when you have this Pandora's box that's been opened, yeah, that's why certain governments are trying to get involved in the crypto game, or why certain government types of institutions like banks, which are largely connected with the government, are trying to get in on it and stuff like that. Because they see that the tide is turning and they're going to have to go that route because they can't stop it. They're going to have to try to find some way to contain it, or at least they hope to. That's going to be their plan. So these things are there and they're going to continue to just improve, and there's going to be more ideas. So, it's definitely an excellent time. I think there's no reason to realistically think that even if whatever the U.S. government, any other government puts whatever regulations they want to put in, there's no reasonable reason by taking an honest look at the history of the U.S. government and any type of prohibition it's ever tried to do. Realistically, even with the drug war, yeah, sure, a whole lot of people unfortunately have ended up in rape cages, as you mentioned earlier, over stupid insanity. There's no really other word for it, just pure insanity what they put people through. But plenty of other people have been able to successfully get high and get whatever they want, pretty much whenever they want for a very long time. And they will always be able to, because it just doesn't work. Prohibition is not going to work. So whatever regulations and prohibition type things they try to throw in the way, they're not going to be able to stop it. And whatever roadblocks get thrown up, somebody will just come out there and tweak an algorithm or whatever, or write a completely different code and completely work around it, just like they have every time before. So I can't see why other than people that buy the fear porn and by the by the dismissive comments by the mainstream media and stuff like that to try to downplay it. Other than people like that, I can't see how any reasonable person would not want to invest at least something in the coming months. If you're afraid it may take off again soon, then do it now. But if you're planning on doing it at some point during this year, now may not be a bad time. But you might be able to wait, like you're saying. It may take it may last a year. Who knows? I'm lucky enough that
I feel like that could be good, because there's a lot of things I want to get right now, but I don't have the money to get them right now. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Like I said, that's my problem. I can't buy anything. I had little money allotted for when I sell my house that I was going to try to put some of it in. I wish I could put more. I mean, once I get set up in my new spot, and if I start working again, I'm going to try my best to get paid in crypto in whatever I do. But other than that, I'll may put some in at some point, or may not. We'll see. But yeah, I think now would be a great time, because, like I said, even if it stays down the whole year, there's no way it's staying down forever. They can't keep this contained. And the prices, whether they go wildly up again and drop, like, they're gonna continue to things are only gonna get better as the world currencies continue to get worse. And again, all you have to do is take an honest look at the history to see that every one of these currencies has done nothing but continue to devalue year after year after year after year after year, even when governments are supposedly trying to do free market stuff and all this, all this rhetoric they throw at you. The history is there. You look at the US government. It's what is it now? I think it's up to like 96% that the dollar has been the value of the dollar, or what is it? The purchasing power of the dollar has been reduced by 96%, I think, since the inception of the Fed.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, because I remember when Ron Paul the last time was 2012, it was around 93. So I think it's up to 96 now. Yeah, something like that. The history, it's right there. It's going to keep getting worse, and the worst, like it, just like any other world government currency throughout history, it has to collapse eventually. And people have been talking about it for a while, but just look at it realistically. They've just been band-aiding the fuck out of it. So eventually, it's going to collapse, and that, I think, will happen. I do expect to see that in my lifetime. I expect to see the U.S. dollar collapse before I die. I'd probably be very upset if I don't, but. But just even before it does, there's just the value for cryptocurrency, just as the currency itself, because more and more people are waking up to the fact that their dollars, or wherever they are, don't buy as much as they used to, because of whatever inflationary tactics the particular government's using. And
like have you ever read the Bible?
Yes, it's been a long time since I did. I was brought up Catholic, but I didn't really get into it. But after I left
Book of Revelation, like the rapture, the mark of the beast, the one world currency.
Okay. I vaguely remember that.
It's basically like a couple weeks ago, I went to this sandwich shop that I frequent for lunch a lot. Like I went to the ATM prior, but the ATM was like closed down because like the bank's door was blown shut by like crazy winds. It was like the glass was broken or whatever, so the bank was closed. I had to pay with my debit card that day, and the dude at the counter is like, "Oh, you always pay with cash?" He like commented. And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't like anything to be tracked." Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. And and then I made the comment, I'd rather pay with Bitcoin. And then he said he's thinking that like Bitcoin is going to lead us to like a one world currency.
Oh, yeah.
Mark of the beast, rapture, end of days type shit.
I've heard that. I've heard that theory before. I think people are insane.
Like I wouldn't blame it on Bitcoin, and there could be some sort of digital one world currency end of days type shit, but I don't believe it's Bitcoin.
I don't think it's Bitcoin either. I've heard that theory postulated by people before. And,
no, I mean, like, I think if it was anything, it would probably be Ripple, dude.
no, although I guess it is possible. I don't know. Like I said, for the convenience factor, it'll be wonderful.
I know it's not going to be Dash, dude. It's not going to be Dash.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I mean, Dash fancies itself a privacy coin too, but again, I have questions about that based on the research I've been led to.
No doubt. I as well.
But I definitely think I still think Monero is the more secure coin, but who knows? We'll see. Even though not Monero itself, I think it was one of the devs from Monero got a bug up their ass about Sumo Coin, even though he tried to knock them down. I think Sumo Coin is actually technically a little more secure than Monero because it's a Monero.
So what do you think about Dash being the official currency of PorcFest?
Well, they can have it. I started to talk about that before. I did my one PorcFest back in 2016. I don't think I'll ever go back again. I went that year because I got a ticket. I got a free ticket because.
So would you say that PorcFest 2016 was your Me Too moment?
It might have been. It was no. I mean, I actually had fun, but I was there with a bunch of people who had been there for years beforehand, multiple years beforehand, and they just couldn't.
How much cooler it was.
Yeah, they couldn't stop talking about
fuck
that.
Those people, dude.
Well, I know. Like I was there with there was a bunch of the fiends.
I would say it was a little bit cooler years before, yes, but at the same time, we can make it cooler next year, dude.
You can, but like I said, unfortunately, I'm a big fan of the Midwest Peace and Liberty Fest, and on purpose last year they shifted after doing it in like August, September, I think for the first couple of years, they purposely shifted it to the same time as PorcFest last year. So I had to make a choice, and I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely I live currently on Long Island. It would take me, I think, 5.5, 6 hours without traffic to get up to Rogers in Rogers Campground in New Hampshire. It takes me 11.5 hours to get out to Michigan to the Circle Pine Center, and I opted to make that drive twice in a row. Instead of going back to PorcFest, because it's a lot. Because I mean, like I said, I still had fun, but the smaller festivals are actually more my thing anyway. I don't like a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I feel the same thing about like music, like with like shows and shit. Like I would never pay like $50 to see a band. Plus, man,
I've paid a lot.
My favorite band for $10 in a small ass fucking venue.
Unfortunately, I live on Long Island, and I've paid a lot more than $50 to see somebody I wanted to see. Yeah, but back when I was young and didn't really care about money, and just when I worked and I got money, I was like, "Yay, I have money! I can pay my bills. Hey, I have all this money left over. Yay, let's go do stuff." I've paid more than a couple $100s for tickets to shows, but that's a whole other story. Yeah, man. Like I said, when it comes to these different cryptos, I just think that number one, it's a good time to get in if you haven't now, and don't listen to all the naysayers who keep saying, "Oh, everybody says that it's a good time to get in, and look, it keeps crashing." No, just look at where everything was last year. I think I think like half the coins in the top 10 in the coin market cap weren't even in existence or were like worth nothing at this time last year, right? If you look at the list, so like despite what you may hear, things are still actually going really well. I mean, if you bought in when Bitcoin was up at like 19,000, then I could understand why you might be freaking out right now, especially if you bought like one or more. Yeah, I could understand that. But just give it time. You'll be all right. But for anybody else, yeah, it's tough. It's always a good time, I think, to get in somewhere, somehow, some way, because like I said, the government's like, they can't stop this. So it's there. It's going to keep getting better. And, just look at the historical record. It's always going to stay one step ahead. So there's no reason to think that the prices will do anything but go up again eventually. Anyway, On that note, I think we should probably get wrapping up. I'm looking at the time. But first of all, man, thank you very much for coming on. This was fun, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me tonight.
Times, man. Hit me up again sometime, man.
Yeah, we could definitely do this again. And of course,
dude, this is a chill bro chill, dude.
What's that?
Chill bro chill.
Yeah. Well, that's what that's what I try to do when I try to take this from just me yakking at this at the microphone. Or actually, back in the day, I was doing video actually because I was doing stuff from my phone. But yeah, I just like to have conversations, and other people seem to like it, which is good. But I like doing it, and it's fun. And I got to know you a little bit, which was great. So before we go, anything else you want to say in closing? And of course, plug away everything you want to plug before we get out of here.
If you guys are interested, check out Punk Rock Libertarians on Facebook if you're not on there already. And you could even add me on Facebook if you want to chat or view the shit that I'm posting or whatever. And you can also check out the dailyliberator.com. Punk Rock Libertarians podcast. It's available on like iTunes, Google, all sorts of places. You can find it. So that's about it. That's about all I have to plug. Oh, except for my band 10 Watch and Post Freedom. You can check us out.
Yeah. All right.
That's about it.
Great. And I'll put all that stuff in the show notes too. So, all right. Well, once again, thanks a lot for the conversation. Thank you everybody else for listening. This has been Abolitionist Abstractions. All of my content can be found at solpodcast.org and my stuff at Steemit at steemit.com/@abolitionist. I can say my own name one of these nights. So please go there. And for people who are also SOL listeners, there's a lot of stuff going on our Patreon. So I know actually a couple of people have donated because of this show, and I appreciate that. So if you want to donate, I still don't have anything separate, but you can definitely go to the Patreon link for SOL because, well, I control most of SOL these days anyway. So eventually everything's going to come to me once our bills are all paid off. So. All right. Once again, thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Love, peace, and voluntary interactions for all.
Indians scattered on Dawn's highway bleeding. Ghosts crowd the young child's fragile eggshell mind.
This is Daryl W. Perry, host of Free Talk Live. This November, I'll be running in the world's biggest and most popular marathon, the New York City Marathon, and I've accepted a spot on Team Innocence Project because I'm a passionate supporter of their work. Since 1989, 353 people in the United States have been exonerated by DNA testing, including 38 who pled guilty to crimes they did not commit, and 20 of whom served time on death row. The Innocence Project provided direct representation or critical assistance in 180 of these cases. With your help, the Innocence Project can help even more people who have been wrongly convicted. As part of Team Innocence Project, I'm raising awareness about wrongful convictions and raising funds to help free the innocent. I've already paid the race registration fees. However, to secure my spot on Team Innocence Project in the New York City Marathon, I need to raise $3,500 by November 1st. You can support the Innocence Project and help me secure my race entry by going to run.freetalklive.com.